Welcome to the Recession Proof Investing series, where we have top experts sharing tips and strategies to create lasting success and financial freedom. I'm Keisha Bailey, CEO of Profit Jumpstarter, and today I'm joined by Andrea of Modern Lady Vibes to have an interesting discussion about women and their money. So, Andrea, thank you so much for joining us today. Could you share a
Thank
bit
you.
more Can you share a bit about your background and the work that you do?
Sure. Thank you, Keisha, so much for having me. My name is
Welcome.
Andrea Ewolefo. I'm creator of Modern Lady Vibes, which is an online community on Instagram and YouTube designed to redefine what it means to be a lady in the 21st century by teaching independence, financial literacy, and business sense. I just recently graduated with the JD MBA. I'm a single mom of a 14-year-old son. And throughout my past, I've been a financial advisor, turned high school math teacher, now turned future lawyer. And I have started Modern Lady Vibes as a way to just provide that extra puzzle piece in the financial education space where women, and particularly Black women, can see and hear from those who represent our community to be able to share the financial advice and background that we have to be able to be successful.
Amazing stuff. And the world definitely needs more of you because our community definitely needs financial literacy. It is a grave shortfall that we have right now, but also a fantastic area for opportunity. So last year was a very rough year for many persons with COVID, very trying times. We had persons losing their job, we had persons losing their lives, and it's just been a very sad time. How has it been for you and your clients last year?
Yeah, so I'm sure like most people can relate to 2020 was a very, very difficult year. I was fortunate that no one that I knew of immediate friends and family passed away from COVID, but there definitely was a lot of financial struggle. For me personally, I own a duplex and I short-term rent the other side. I live
Ooh,
in, a high tourist city, New Orleans, and as most people know, like Manhattan and New York, New Orleans was hit very, very bad in the beginning. And luckily our mayor and leaders were able to get together and, eradicate the challenges we were facing pretty quickly, but that meant completely shutting down the city. So I went from having this it's supposed to be side income, but as a grad student, it was my only source of income. It completely disappeared for
yeah,
most of 2020. So that was definitely a challenge. And
yeah.
I had friends who lost their jobs, and it was a struggle for sure.
Yeah, it definitely was trying times. Lots of persons are just grateful to be on the other side, we hope. But one thing we know is that the new normal will definitely be different from pre COVID. And so, with that, especially women, as you know, we tend to really think and make sure that we've mastered something, and we want to also make sure that our family's taken care of, our kids are
Mhm.
okay. So what tips and strategies would you recommend for women, and probably more specifically women of color, that we could implement in our lives?
Definitely. So one of the things that is so well known and appreciated about women of color is our willingness to just take everyone under our wing and be the one that our friends and our family can rely on in times of trouble and good times. But unfortunately for many of us, that usually means not making sure that we're taken care of first, or letting ourselves and our priorities kind of slip into second and third place. But
Yeah.
we've all heard the saying, if you've ever been on a plane, that it's very important to put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you're able to tend to others.
Yes.
It's necessary, right? You can't help if
Yeah.
you need help. So one of the things that I highly recommend, and it was something that was able to protect me through that 10 months that I had no rental income coming in, was through the creation of an emergency fund. Many people have heard of, you need an emergency fund, you need an emergency fund, but typically the information that's passed around is, oh, get $1,000 in there, you'll be good to go. Well, where can $1,000 go these days? Can you even buy 4 tires with $1,000 anymore, right? So what I push and what others like me are seeking to get out into the education space is 3 to 6 months minimum, okay? And that at the very least, your immediate expenses. So what does that mean? Your lodging, absolute basic food that you would need, your utilities, internet, phone. Think about when you were on lockdown, the only bills you had just to sustain, those would be your immediate basic expenses that in the event you lost your job or were without work or some emergency happened, you would be able to live off of that money for at least 3 to 6 months. And to determine whether it's 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, think about the field that you're in and the line of work that you do and how easy or how difficult it may be to get another job in that field. So depending on the ease of getting a new job, you would want to decide whether you want, the lesser of 3 or the more of 6, and to get that emergency fund built up as fast as possible.
But it's interesting also you say a minimum 3 to 6, because with COVID, that's been more than a year now. So starting 3 to 6, I believe it's a good start, but would you also possibly encourage persons to go beyond that?
Oh, 100%. So when I say a minimum of 3 to 6, I mean, when you sit down and look at your budget and your expenses and the money you have coming in, and let's say you're able to determine that you have an extra $200 a month that you can apply to whatever, whether it's, retirement or paying off debt or building up an emergency fund. Well, if you don't have an emergency fund, then you want to take that entire $200 and it should go 100% to building your emergency fund until you get to 3 to 6 months. Once you hit that minimum amount, then you can take that 200, maybe split it in half or split it in thirds. And now only 100 is going towards the emergency fund to continue to build it to 9 months later, and take the other 100. And maybe if you have some high interest debt or you want to start investing for retirement, you can take the other half and apply it to that.
I like that strategy. I like it because you get to build up that emergency fund first, and then once you're at that 3 to 6 months, you can say, you know what, let me keep adding on top of that just to be extra secure. But I'm still able to pay down debt if that's there, or I can start investing. And then what are your, I'm curious to find out your views on paying down debt. How important do you see that in the whole mix of your personal finances?
Yes, so I do take a little different approach than most people in the financial space. I'm not a particularly gung-ho team debt payoff, okay? And the reason for that is because of the power of compound interest. Now, yes, compound interest can work for you, it can also work against you, but the reality is that when it comes to most debt, it typically isn't working as against you as it could be working for you in investment strategy, right? So what do I mean by that? If you have a home mortgage, if you have student loans, if you have any type of debt that's earning about 7% or less, okay? The interest rate is 7% or less, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna fare better putting the money to investments and the minimums on your debt. And I actually, one of the things I do on Instagram and YouTube is I create videos teaching about these different concepts. And I did a whole video where I I laid out the math behind this, showing that you will actually end up with a net gain if you pay minimums and apply your extra money to investments, as opposed to putting all your money to pay off debt and then investing. And the reason behind that is because of time. If it takes you 5, 10, 15 years to pay off debt, and then you wait to start investing, it takes an exponential amount of money to even try to recoup what you've lost in the market regarding the compound interest.
That is absolutely true. The work I do in terms of teaching people to invest, that's exactly the numbers behind it, because the long-term return on the stock market is 10%. And so if your debt is below that, the 7% you mentioned, it is in fact true. It's better to be investing, because you have what, even though the 7% seems high-ish, it's still fairly low compared to credit card debt, which is at 25, 40% even on some of those. So good strategy, exactly. For sure.
Exactly. And I'll even go so far to say is, if you have a 401k with an employer match, you match the employer match first, even if you have a 23% interest credit card, because the employer match is 100% gain on your money, plus whatever it's earning in the market. There's no amount of debt interest, unless it's 200% interest, that you're going to lose out if you don't pay that debt off, versus matching with the employer.
That's a very smart strategy. Yeah, I love that one. and so I think we're at number 1, or are we at number 1 in strategy? Okay. Number 2.
Yes.
I know we started dropping the gems there, so yeah, these are really good.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So the other strategy that I would recommend, and what we've likely all seen in this pandemic, is to make sure that you have multiple streams of income. That is something that is so important, with or without COVID. You just don't want to rely on all of your income coming from one place. And for many people, that one place is a job. And as we know, employers are not as loyal to their employees anymore. Pensions are gone. You don't lock in that retirement anymore, no matter how many years you put in. And you can put in 20, 30 years and then just be let go like that.
Yeah.
So it's very important to make sure you're bringing in different streams of income. And that can be through various types of side hustles. You can do a more passive, where, for example, like I said, I have a duplex and I do short-term rental on the other side. If you have a multi-unit property, you can also do long-term renting. If you have a bedroom or a guest house on your property, you can rent that out. If you have an extra car, you can rent out your car on Turo. If you have a swimming pool, you can rent out your swimming pool. You got to get really creative. You can walk dogs. You could sell your skills on Fiverr, with graphic design. Yeah, there's so many different things. Or even create e-products. If you have a particular skill that you feel that others could learn from, you can either create that digital product, write an ebook, create a course, and it'll take a little bit of time out up front, but then that course can be sold, or that book can be sold over and over and over again, in perpetuity, and you can create that kind of income. So finding ways to create multiple streams of income is paramount to ensuring financial security moving forward.
Yep. Heard it here. That is true. Dropping gems. I love it.
Yes.
I'm excited for number 3. What else do you have for us?
Oh man, well, we've touched a little bit on it. I would say my final strategy is to make sure that you are investing for your future. Time is so valuable. It is the most valuable asset that you have in regards to creating financial independence. And for many of us, we've been sold the lie that retirement is an age and not a number, a dollar amount, right? You keep hearing, you retire at 65, you retire at 65. Well, can you retire at 65 if you have $0 saved up? No, you can't. So it's so important to know what your financial independence number is. when you want to retire, because here's the other kicker. You don't have to retire at 65. You can retire at 55 or 45 or 35. If you set up your plan early enough and you stick to it, you can retire when you want to retire. And it's all about reaching that financial independence number within that amount of time. And I have videos on that too, on how to calculate it, how to figure it out, and then, how to determine how much to save every month. So check that out as well. But saving for your retirement is so important, because unlike debt, which you can get forgiven, you can file bankruptcy. If you die with debt, that's it. You don't owe it anymore. There's no way to take a loan out for retirement. There's no way to just, get someone to give it to you if you didn't figure it out. There are no alternative options for funding your retirement other than just putting in the work and saving now. So whenever you're thinking, pay off debt, save for retirement, do I do this, do I do that? Always shoot for taking care of your financial future first, because it
starts early.
Exactly, and start as early as possible.
Yeah, absolutely true, because what I see happening now, a lot of persons are coming close to retirement, and at that point, like 2 years out, they're saying, okay, what am I gonna do now? And then you're at retirement and you find that I can't really retire. I need to keep working. Let me go find a part-time job. Let me become a greeter at Walmart or at the local retail store. And we don't want that to be our future. We want to really, truly retire. For sure, learning to invest and starting to invest from early on is critical. And I love it. Yeah. I love that you mentioned also that you have these videos on YouTube. You're dropping the gems there. Please, again, just drop, how can persons find you?
Yes, of course. So you can easily find me on Instagram or YouTube at the handle at Modern Lady Vibes. You can see it here on my screen right now. And on Modern Lady Vibes, I share on Instagram, I share the financial advice. I also kind of walk you through being a homeowner and doing some DIY renovations and managing my short-term rental, as well as being vegan and just having a plant-based diet on a budget. And then on YouTube, I focus primarily on the financial education. So you can check out either one and get that information.
For sure. Yes, because you are definitely dropping expert advice and strategies that I know also that people need to hear. So this has been amazing. I thank you so much for sharing your time with me today. And for our audience, I'm sure you guys greatly benefited from the gems from Andrea. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.